You're not alone in this darkness. Sometimes the darkness feels endless. The nights are longer, the days are heavy, and your heart feels like it's carrying a weight no one can see. You smile on the outside, but inside you're screaming for someone to notice. I want you to know something today. You're not alone in this darkness. We all have chapters of life that are hard to read. Moments where we can't see the way forward. Moments when hope feels like a distant memory. But the truth is, darkness is never permanent. And no matter how silent the world may seem, there are forces, both divine and human, standing beside you. Even when you can't feel them, your pain does not make you weak. Your tears do not make you a failure. And your struggles do not make you unworthy. They make you human. And in your humanity, there is beauty, strength, and a story worth living. Today, I want to share with you 8 truths to remind you that you are not walking this path alone, even when your eyes can't see the light yet. Darkness is temporary. Light always finds a way. There is something deeply deceiving about darkness. When you're inside it, it feels endless. The nights stretch on like they have no intention of ending, and every morning feels the same, heavy, gray, and without spark. You wake up, and the first thing you notice is not joy, but the absence of it. You carry an invisible weight that no one else can see, and the silence around you feels louder than any noise. It's in moments like these that the mind plays its cruelest tricks. It convinces you that this is forever, that the shadows will never leave, that you will never feel warmth or hope again. But this is the lie of the darkness. It makes you forget one of the most consistent truths of life. Nothing stays the same forever. Seasons change, time moves forward, wounds heal. And light, even if it's only a faint flicker at first, always finds its way back. Think about the night. No matter how long and deep the night feels, the sun has never once failed to rise in the history of this world. Every single day, without fail, light overpowers darkness. It doesn't happen all at once. The sky doesn't switch from midnight to bright daylight instantly. It begins with the gentlest of shifts, a subtle fading of black into deep blue, then the first blush of orange touching the horizon. The light comes quietly, almost unnoticeably at first, but it always comes. And when it arrives, it changes everything. That's what your life is like. You may not notice it, but your morning is on its way. Just because you can't see the first signs of sunrise yet doesn't mean they're not coming. It's important to remember that your darkness, no matter how overwhelming it feels, is not a permanent state. Just as storms pass, so do emotional winters. Even the heaviest rainfall eventually exhausts itself and gives way to clear skies. But here's the thing. While you're in the middle of that storm, it's hard to imagine sunshine. That's why we must learn to trust in cycles, the natural rise and fall of life. If you've ever gone through a hard season before, think back to it. At that time, it probably felt like it would never end. Yet here you are on the other side of it. If the light found you then, it will find you again now. Darkness often magnifies your fears and doubts. When you can't see clearly, every shadow looks bigger than it is, every uncertainty feels threatening. But what if I told you that the darkness you are experiencing might be protecting you just as much as it is challenging you? Think of seeds that they grow in the darkness of the soil before they ever reach the light. That dark space isn't a place of punishment for the seed. It's a place of preparation. It's where roots form, strength develops, and the foundation is built for what's about to bloom. Maybe, just maybe, the darkness you're in right now is the soil from which your next season of growth will emerge. Light doesn't just arrive externally, it grows inside you too. Sometimes we wait for life to change before we feel better, but often it's the small sparks within us that start the transformation. A kind word from someone, a verse that speaks directly to your heart, a quiet moment of prayer. These are little candles in the night. They don't eliminate the darkness instantly, but they give you enough light to take the next step. And here's the beautiful thing. You don't need to see the whole road ahead. You just need enough light to see your next step. That's all progress ever requires. I know it's hard to believe in light when you're in the thick of pain. I know how convincing the hopelessness can be. But you must hold on to the truth that this is temporary. Even grief changes shape over time. Even broken hearts find new ways to love. Even the most shattered dreams can give birth to better ones. The life you imagine now might not return exactly the same, but the life ahead can still be full of meaning, beauty, and joy. Sometimes the light that comes after the darkness isn't the same light you once had. It's softer, warmer, wiser, and while you wait for that light, remind yourself that waiting is not wasted time. Waiting is part of the process. In the darkness, you can reflect. In the quiet, you can listen to parts of yourself you've been too busy to hear. It is in the absence of noise that the whisper of your soul becomes audible. Use this time not to fight the darkness angrily, but to walk through it patiently, knowing it cannot last forever. In many spiritual traditions, including Islam, darkness is often a test, not a curse. The Quran reminds us, indeed with hardship comes ease, Surah Ash-Shah 94. Notice that it says, with hardship, not after. That means even while you're in the struggle, ease is already there somewhere, waiting for you to notice it. It may be hidden in the kindness of a stranger, the unwavering love of a friend, or the quiet strength that surprises you in your weakest moments. These small mercies are like cracks in the wall of darkness, letting in slivers of light. Think of the times in your life where you thought you couldn't make it, yet somehow you did. Maybe it was heartbreak, loss, failure, or betrayal. At the time you felt like you'd never smile again. But then one day you caught yourself laughing. One day you realized the pain wasn't as sharp. One day the colors of the world looked brighter again. You may not remember exactly when the shift happened, and that's the beauty of it. Light doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it just slips in quietly and transforms everything without you even realizing it. If you are in darkness right now, your job is not to force the light to come. You can't control the sunrise. Your job is to keep yourself open to it, to hold on until it arrives, to trust that it will. Sometimes holding on doesn't look glamorous. It's messy, it's tiring, it's imperfect. But holding on is enough. You don't have to run out of the darkness. You just have to not give up in it. When that light comes, because it will, you'll see that the darkness was shaping you. You'll see that the person you became in the dark is stronger, kinder, and braver than you were before. You'll appreciate the light more because you know what it's like to live without it. You'll have a deeper compassion for others because you've been in the valley yourself. And perhaps most importantly, you'll realize that you were never truly alone in the dark. The light was walking toward you the whole time. So if you're hearing this right now and you feel like your life is a closed room with no windows, let me tell you, there's a door you haven't found yet. And behind that door is a horizon waiting to greet you. Hold on, breathe, take one more step. The light is already on its way, and when it reaches you, you'll understand why you had to go through the night to appreciate the morning. Someone has walked this path before and made it through. One of the most isolating things about pain is that it tricks you into believing you are the only one in the world who could possibly understand what you're feeling. It convinces you that no one else has stood where you are standing, that no one else has felt this depth of sadness, this sharpness of grief, this heaviness of hopelessness. It makes you feel like you are uniquely broken, as if the rest of the world is moving forward with smiles, while you're drowning in a silent struggle. But here's the truth that your pain doesn't want you to know. You are not the first to walk through this valley, and you will not be the last to make it out alive. There are people who have been exactly where you are, or in places even darker. They survived. They didn't just survive. Many of them came out stronger, wiser, and more compassionate than before. And if they could do it, you can too. Think about the countless stories of resilience that the world holds. History, literature, and everyday life are full of people who have faced crushing despair and still found their way back to light. Soldiers who returned from war with scars you couldn't see. Mothers who buried children and somehow learned to smile again. Refugees who lost their homes and built new ones in foreign lands. People who have battled addiction, mental illness, financial ruin, betrayal, and heartbreak, and still stood up, one more time, to live another day. If you could hear their stories, you'd realize that many of them once felt exactly like you do now, hopeless, tired, and unsure if they could continue. And yet, here's the beautiful part. They did continue. Often, they didn't do it with grand gestures or sudden bursts of courage. They did it one tiny step at a time, one small choice at a time, one morning at a time. Survival doesn't always look like a movie scene with swelling music and a dramatic turnaround. Sometimes it's as quiet as someone deciding to get out of bed despite the weight on their chest. Sometimes it's as small as answering a text when you don't feel like talking to anyone. Sometimes it's just breathing, one breath after another, until enough time has passed for healing to begin. You may not personally know these people, but their stories are proof that the human spirit is far more resilient than we imagine. Pain convinces you that you can't survive it, but countless people before you have proven otherwise. And that matters because it means this darkness you're in is survivable. You're not in an unsolvable situation. Someone has faced something like it before. Maybe not exactly the same, but close enough to understand your struggle. And they found a way forward. When you're going through a hard season, it can be powerful to seek out those stories. Read about people who overcame adversity. Listen to interviews, read biographies, watch documentaries, or even just talk to the elders in your family or community. You'll be surprised at how many people carry scars that they once thought would kill them. That old woman you see at the grocery store might have lost everything in her youth and rebuilt her life from nothing. That man who always seems cheerful might have gone through years of depression before finding his peace. Struggles are often invisible until someone shares them. And when they do, it becomes clear that survival is possible. This is why connection matters so much when you're hurting. You need to remind yourself that humanity is a shared experience and suffering is a part of that. It doesn't make you abnormal, it makes you human. And humanity is resilient. Think about it. Human beings have endured plagues, wars, natural disasters, oppression, and personal heartbreak for thousands of years. And we are still here. If generations before us could survive their storms, you can survive yours. Sometimes knowing that someone else has been through the same kind of pain you're feeling is enough to give you hope. It's like walking through a dark tunnel and finding footprints ahead of you. You realize that someone else made it through this exact path. You might not know how long the tunnel is, but if those footprints lead to light for them, they can for you too. And here's an even more powerful thought. One day, you could be the footprints for someone else. The survival story they need. The voice that says, I've been where you are, and I made it out. You can too. We often underestimate the value of shared struggles. When you open up and hear other stories, you realize you're not uniquely cursed. You're part of the shared fabric of human experience. And in that shared experience, there is comfort. There's a sense that you are part of something bigger, that your struggle has meaning because it connects you to millions of others who have felt the same. It's not about comparing pain. No one's journey is exactly the same. But about understanding that emotional survival is a skill humans have always had. In faith traditions, especially in Islam, this truth is reinforced through the stories of the prophets and righteous people. Prophet Ayub, Job, peace be upon him, endured unimaginable loss and illness, yet remained steadfast in faith and was eventually restored. Prophet Yusuf, peace be upon him, was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused and imprisoned. Yet his story ended in honor and power. These aren't just historical accounts. They're divine reminders that no matter how deep the pit, there is always a way out. These stories are preserved precisely so we don't fall into the trap of thinking we are the only ones who suffer. They remind us that endurance is possible and that victory often comes after the deepest trials. You may feel like no one around you understands, but remember that human beings have more in common than we think. Even if someone hasn't lived your exact pain, they've probably felt fear, grief, or loneliness in their own life. They may not have your exact scars, but they have their own, and those scars make them capable of empathy. Sometimes people won't know the perfect words to say, but their presence, their willingness to listen, or their simple reminder that I've been through something too, can be enough to help you breathe a little easier. Here's something worth remembering. The pain you're in today could be the very thing that equips you to help someone else tomorrow. The comfort you receive from the stories of those who walked before you is the same comfort you can give to someone else in the future. Survival doesn't just end with you being okay. It turns you into a source of hope for others. Your survival becomes part of someone else's reason to keep going. So the next time your mind tells you, "Oh, no one knows what this feels like," challenge that thought. Remind yourself that while your situation is uniquely yours, the human heart has been through countless variations of this same storm, and it has survived every single time. Let those survival stories be the hand that reaches back for you in the dark. Let them be proof that you are not lost forever, that this path has been walked before, and that there is a way out because others have found it. You don't have to see the end right now. You just need to trust that there is one, and that it's not just possible but inevitable, because if someone else has walked through this valley before and made it through, then there's no reason you can't as well. You are stronger than the voice telling you to give up. When you are deep in the middle of your struggles, there's a voice inside your head that gets louder than all the others. I have endured pain I thought would break me, but I am still standing. I am stronger than I feel right now. There is also a deeper truth. Your strength doesn't have to come from you alone. There is a greater source, a divine source that can strengthen you beyond your own capacity. In Islam, Allah tells us in the Quran, Allah does not burden a soul beyond that it can bear. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:286. This means that if you are facing it, you are already equipped to handle it, even if you don't see that strength yet. Sometimes strength comes when you call on Him, when you admit your weakness and ask for help. You don't have to fight this battle in your own power alone. You have the strength of the one who created you, and His strength has no limits. One way to silence the voice of defeat is to collect evidence of your resilience. Write down the things you've survived: heartbreaks, disappointments, illnesses, losses, failures. List them. You'll start to see a pattern. Every single time you thought you couldn't go on, you did. This isn't just a coincidence. It's proof that you have the capacity to withstand more than you think. Keep that list somewhere you can see it when the voice gets loud. Remind yourself, I have proof that I can survive hard things. It's also important to remember that strength isn't about never feeling weak. Everyone feels weak sometimes. The strongest people you know have moments of doubt, fear, and exhaustion. What makes them strong is not the absence of those feelings, but their refusal to let those feelings stop them. Strength isn't about never falling. It's about always getting back up. And getting up doesn't have to be immediate. Even if it takes you time, the act of rising again is still strength. That voice telling you to give up often sounds convincing because it mixes itself with your own thoughts. It tries to sound like logic, but logic without hope is just pessimism in disguise. To fight it, you have to challenge it. When it says, "You can't do this," respond with, "I've done hard things before." When it says, "You're not strong enough," respond with, "Strength is built in the trying, and I'm still trying." When it says, "It's over," remind yourself, "It's not over until I decide it is." There will be days when that voice wins for a few hours. You'll feel tired, maybe even too tired to resist. That's okay. Strength doesn't mean you win every single battle instantly. It means you keep coming back to fight. Some days winning might just mean holding on. And if all you did today was survive, then you are still stronger than that voice, because you didn't give it the final word. Here's something else to consider. The more battles you fight against that voice, the weaker it becomes. Over time, as you gather more victories, its words will lose some of their power. You'll start to recognize its patterns, its lies, and you'll be able to dismiss them faster. The voice may never disappear completely, but you'll learn to live louder than it. So when the darkness tells you to quit, remember, the voice inside your head is not the voice of truth. It's the voice of fear, exhaustion, and temporary hopelessness. You are stronger than it. You've proven that before, and you will prove it again. You may not feel strong in every moment, but strength isn't always a feeling. Sometimes it's just a choice. And right now, in this moment, you can choose to keep going, even if it's just one more step, one more breath, one more day. And that, no matter how small it feels, is enough to silence the lie. You're allowed to ask for help. It's not a sign of weakness. There's a myth that has been quietly poisoning our understanding of strength for generations. It's the belief that strong people handle everything on their own. That if you need help, you're somehow less capable, less resilient, or less worthy. It's the idea that you must carry every burden silently, smile through every struggle, and never let anyone see your cracks. And for so many of us, this myth becomes a prison. We hold in our pain, we push down our fears, and we convince ourselves that asking for help is admitting defeat. But the truth is the complete opposite. Asking for help is not weakness, it's courage. It takes far more strength to be vulnerable than to pretend you're okay. We live in a culture that praises independence, but often forgets that we were never meant to live life entirely alone. Even the strongest structures in the world are supported. Skyscrapers have beams, bridges have cables, and even the most beautiful trees have deep roots that connect them to the earth. You are no different. Needing support doesn't make you fragile. It makes you human. You weren't built to carry every storm by yourself. The moment you reach out for help, you are doing something extraordinary. You are acknowledging that you matter enough to deserve care, that your struggles are real enough to be shared, and that you trust someone else enough to let them into your truth. That's not weakness. That's bravery in its purest form. It's easy to suffer in silence. It's much harder to open your mouth and say, "I can't do this alone." Think about it. When a friend or loved one comes to you in need, do you see them as weak? Probably not. In fact, you likely feel honored that they trusted you. You see their courage in admitting their need. You see their humanity, and you don't think less of them for it. So why would it be different when it's you? Often the harshest judgment we face doesn't come from others. It comes from ourselves. We tell ourselves we should be stronger. We should have it together. We should be able to handle this. But to should is a cruel word that has destroyed countless spirits. You don't have to usher yourself into isolation. Why? Sometimes the help you need is practical. Someone to drive you somewhere, to bring you food, to help you figure out a problem. Sometimes it's emotional. Someone to listen without judgment, hold your hand, to remind you that you're not losing your mind. And sometimes it's spiritual, a mentor, a counselor, or a faith leader who can speak truth into your heart when you've forgotten it. All of these forms of help are valid. None of them make you less of a person. Even from a spiritual perspective, asking for help is not weakness. It's wisdom. In Islam, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught the importance of community and mutual support. He said, "The believers, in their mutual kindness, compassion, and sympathy, are like one body. When one part of the body suffers, the whole body responds to it with wakefulness and fever." Sahih Muslim. This means that when you're hurting, others are meant to feel it too. Your pain is not meant to be hidden so deeply that no one can reach you. You are part of a bigger body, and the body works best when all its parts care for each other. One of the most damaging lies we believe is that no one would understand. And yes, maybe no one can fully understand exactly what you feel, but that doesn't mean they can't be there for you. People don't have to have all the answers to be a source of comfort. Sometimes the most healing thing someone can do is simply sit with you in your pain, not trying to fix it, but reminding you that you don't have to carry it alone. There's another fear that keeps people from asking for help, the fear of being a burden. I want you to think about this honestly. How many times have you been there for someone else and felt like they were a burden? Probably never. You might have been tired, you might have been busy, but if you truly cared for them, their need didn't make them a weight, it made them important. The same is true for you. People who care about you want to be there for you, not because they have to, but because they want to. By not asking, you're actually robbing them of the chance to show their love. And let's be real, there will be times when you reach out and the first person you call doesn't answer, or the first person you confide in doesn't respond the way you hoped. That doesn't mean you were wrong to ask. It just means you need to keep looking for the right person, the one who can be there in the way you need. Sometimes the right help doesn't come from the most obvious places. It might come from a friend you didn't expect, a stranger who becomes a friend, or a professional who has walked hundreds of people through what you're facing. There is also a practical reality here. Help doesn't just lighten your load, it gives you the perspective you can't see when you're buried in your own struggle. When you're hurting, your vision narrows. You see only the problem, not the possibilities. But someone on the outside can see angles, solutions, and truths you can't see from inside the storm. That outside perspective can be the lifeline that changes everything. And here's something important. Asking for help doesn't mean handing over your power. It doesn't mean you're incapable. It just means you're wise enough to use the resources around you. Even the most skilled pilots have co-pilots. Even the best doctors consult with other doctors. Even leaders have advisors. Strength is not the absence of need. It's the ability to recognize and meet your needs before you collapse under them. Some of you might be thinking, I don't even know where to start. I don't know who to ask or what to say. But it's okay, you can start small. You can start by saying something as simple as, I'm not okay, or I'm having a hard time. You don't need to have the perfect words or a complete plan for your healing. You just need to open the door a little. The people who care will step through it. If there is one truth I wish I could write on every heart, it's this. You are worthy of care. Your needs matter. Your pain matters. And your well-being is worth fighting for. You are allowed to ask for help, and you are allowed to accept it when it comes. You are not meant to be the hero of every battle alone. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let someone else fight alongside you. So the next time that voice inside you says, don't bother anyone, or you should be able to handle this, I want you to answer back, I am human. Humans need each other, and there is no shame in that. The truth is, no one wins the battle against darkness by fighting alone forever. At some point, we all need a hand to hold, a voice to remind us of who we are, and a presence to remind us we're not walking through this alone. Asking for help is not giving up. It's showing up for yourself in the most powerful way possible. And one day, when you've made it through this season, you might just be the one someone else reaches for. And because you know what it's like, you'll take their hand without hesitation. That's how the cycle of strength works.